This is the Recreation and Parks Committee. I'm Chairperson Westfall, and to my right is Chairwoman Marshall, and to my left is Chairman Whidden. We have two recommendations to go over. The first one, provide recommendation to Council regarding authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Troy, Ohio to enter into an amendment to the Professional Services Agreement with American Structurepoint, Inc. to add the update of the City of Troy Comprehensive Park and Recreation Master Plan at a cost not to exceed $80,000.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. We are asking to amend the agreement. American Structurepoint has the contract and has done the work guiding us through the comprehensive plan update, and it's now going through the zoning code and the subdivision regulations updates as well. That's ongoing, and you should have that in the next couple of months. 2 or 3 months, because they did a very thorough job, and they know the community, and they've already done some preliminary work on, and they're familiar with our parks and recreation system, facilities, infrastructure, if you will. As part of the comprehensive plan, it was logical that they extend their contract following the same format that we use for the comprehensive plan, public input, stakeholder groups, focus groups, so that we can really understand what the public wants as far as park amenities, recreational upgrades, new and existing. And so Mr. Kerber has opined. He gave us an opinion that we could amend the current contract rather than go out to bid for a new firm, and extend American Structurepoint to add the Park and Recreation Master Plan planning process as part of their 2025 work plan. The estimate is not to exceed $80,000. And we are not asking for emergency legislation.
How long would this plan be good for? Is it a 10-year plan, 5-year plan? What do we? Well,
I mean, that remains to be seen based on what the public input is. I think it would be at least a 10-year plan. It is a mini comprehensive plan for the park and recreation facilities and the quality of life amenities. Mm-hmm. And unless everybody, pardon the pun, wants to dive right in and do it all next year, I don't see us being able to do these kind of aggressive capital that could come out of this plan within 5 years. But that's ultimately up to the council and how quickly they would want to implement whatever they agreed with.
Okay, and when would this be completed?
They're looking at, it would probably be I want to say by, we want to have something for discussion before we get into the 2026 budget planning and the 5-year capital planning process. So I would anticipate that we would have something to council in the July, maybe early August timeframe.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. So in the comprehensive plan that American Structurepoint did already for us, I think they touched a little bit here and there on some recreational type issues, and I know they had a booth out, I want to say maybe for the Strawberry Festival last year, where they got some public input on that. So I imagine that's kind of a similar realm to how they'll be going.
It is.
So is this designed to be more of a, hey, public, we want your input in what you want to have done, or is it more along the lines of, or also taking that, but also saying, hey, Troy, you don't have enough hockey rinks. You need to build another hockey rink. You don't have enough people. So is that type of recommendation we're going to get, or is it solely based on what the public input?
No, it's really, I wouldn't say it's solely based on the public input, but it's going to be really heavy on the public input. We have various, plans that have been done, analyses that have been done in the past. One of them was the hockey, a second sheet of ice. Didn't go over well. But, there is a constituency that would still like to see that happen. Whether it's prevailing, whether it's worth, the numbers are going to be so old that they would have to be updated, and that wasn't cheap the last time. Again, there are different groups that would like to see improvements in different areas. Do we need more pickleball courts? Do we need more football practice fields? Do we, the idea of a complex, a baseball Little League complex out at Duke Park or somewhere else for that matter, with 23 to 26 parks. I can't remember the exact number, but it's a lot of parks. Do we need that many parks? Would you like to see us add amenities to Duke and Community Park and Archer Park or some of the larger parks, or do you want us to be more decentralized? The idea of some kind of water feature, splash pad. Of course, the big discussion that kind of got ahead of itself. Well, not kind of, it did. On the pool, and beyond just stabilizing it, beyond just renovating what's there, are there other amenities that the public might want to see at that facility? Just any number of questions need to be answered.
Okay. When talking about the number of parks and parkland in the city, I know we do have a fair amount of parks, but the distribution is sometimes a little bit unequal and not spaced out, at least the way I might like it. And I know that when we did the transfer of parkland over to the city schools so they could build the new schools, in the first one in particular, we gave away Campbell Park, and at that time, I was an advocate for when the Liberty Meadow subdivision was coming in, that we should put a park in there instead of doing fees in lieu of. At that time, the park board decided not to go that route for reasons I understand. Will that type of recommendation be in here saying, hey, we know you have parkland, but you're putting in maybe a new neighborhood. Seeing as this new neighborhood is X amount of distance away from any other existing park, this needs to be automatically a new park must go in here. Will that type of recommendation be in this?
Yes and no. I mean, they can't be specific when they don't have a particular area to point to. Area being, maybe a future subdivision in Ward 1 that may not be on the drawing board right this minute, but certainly as part of their analysis, they will be looking at park distribution and where the neighborhood parks are, how many we have, are they in the right locations, do we have too many in certain areas, should we centralize more around our larger parks? All of those questions they will answer, but again, it'll be informed quite heavily by as much public input as we can get.
Okay. And then just as a tack on to that question, one of the things that held us back from perhaps maybe wanting to move forward with a park in this particular instance was, hey, we don't want just a green space in this neighborhood because we don't have any playground equipment or money set aside already budgeted for that. Well, they have a recommendation perhaps saying, well, we need to have a set aside fund for whenever we do have a new park go in, so there is money available right away for something like that to happen, so we don't just have empty green space. So there's not this, hey, maybe we do see a need there, but we don't want just an empty vacant green space where the neighborhoods get upset because there's nothing there because the money's not allocated, and something along those lines perhaps? Or is there going to be that type of?
I don't know that they'll dive in again, dive into the get into the weeds about financing sources other than maybe what's typical. They do know that we have a dedicated park and recreation capital fund. They do know that our payments in lieu of go into that fund. They also know that in several cases where there are pocket parks or subdivision parks, those parks, many of them anyway, are private parks that are funded by HOA fees, or the responsibility of the actual HOA. So they know all of that. I don't think they've seen in their high level review anything unusual about the way we do things. It's a matter of priorities. It's a matter of, are we doing, I'd say 15 to 20 years ago, we were always accepting more green space and never really doing the payments in lieu of, primarily because those were very cheap and they wouldn't have funded a replacement swing, let alone a whole playground. Then as we analyzed the ongoing operating costs of trying to maintain those, because they were all public, of course, that's when the park board and the council and their update to the zoning code recognized that, well, maybe we need to rebalance that, and that's when we really started getting into payments in lieu of, funding the capital fund, and taking care of what we have rather than expanding our operating responsibilities. Part of what they will, American Structurepoint will do as they look at our inventory a little deeper, talk to as many people as possible, is, okay, we rebalanced, but now have we tipped it the opposite way, and do we need to kind of go back a little bit? That's certainly one of the questions that they'll look at.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tindring.
We won't be doing any updates then to any of the parks until they come back with something then, right?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, we have budget, the budget in place, so we'll be doing some maintenance. We're not expanding any new features or anything. I mean, we intend on and are looking at the detailed design work needed to do the upgrades, or I'm sorry, the updates and the renovations to the aquatic park, but not expanding what's there at all. We are replacing the playground equipment at Duke Park. We do have some resurfacing projects for some of the play courts. Hurlinger Park is a good example. We'll be resurfacing the basketball courts and updating, the poles and et cetera. And we've got that project under design, the bigger project under design. So there's some things going on, but nothing on a major scale, like, $10 million into the pool and, major.
But we won't halt
upgrades.
those, like the resurfacing. We won't stop that until they're done. We'll
Correct.
continue with that.
No, that's correct.
Will they have a recommendation for recreation trails? Will that be part of their scope?
We can ask them that question. I don't know. They're familiar with our trail system. They know where they go, and certainly I think as part of their recommendations, and again through their input from the public, if we get overwhelming comments and suggestions about creating spurs here, there, and everywhere, that of course will inform their recommendations. But they certainly know our system, and they know that it's a pretty well-used system, and it's something that is a priority for us. So certainly they will include that in their analysis.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other council members have any comments or questions? City? Our big audience, do you have any? No? All right, so how do you feel about this?
Move forward.
Move forward. All right. And we feel like we need to move forward with this.
Okay.
All right, we have another item, provide a recommendation to council regarding the recommendation of the Board of Park Commissioners to authorize the temporary activation of the DORA for the Treasure Island concerts on June 21st, July 4th, and August 2nd, 2025, and authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety to execute the Treasure Island non-ticketed use agreements for June 21st and August 2nd concert dates.
So the Park Board met on this. They're recommending approval to the council to activate the DORA for those 3 events. Those are 3 concerts that we've traditionally done out at Treasure Island. Those dates were selected and you see the bands listed. I will note that unlike last year, the July 4th concert, the city will be sponsoring that. The Troy Foundation's not, and nor the Rotary Club, neither of those are sponsoring entities. The Rotary Club is, they've done that for about 5 years and decided that they've got some other priorities that they want to address this year besides this concert. And the Troy Foundation, actually, they did last year's as part of their 100th year celebration, so it was a little different. We do have the budget for this. We do typically budget for 3 concerts out there, which is what we've done just about every year since Treasure Island was redeveloped. So that's not anything unusual. The DORA being activated, we've had that activated the last couple of years in June and August, and last year, I believe, was the first year that we activated DORA for the July 4th concert with absolutely no issues. And we are not asking for emergency legislation.
Okay. Questions, concerns?
With the way the DORA map is, if I remember, there's a separate section just for Treasure Island, but that's also contiguous with the DORA. Is that kind of contiguous connecting part, is that also activated for this, or is
Yes.
it just, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Council members, questions, concerns, city? Audience members? No? All right, recommendation?
Move forward.
Move forward.
All right, we recommend we move forward with this.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.